Chapter 6, Episode 6, C. When God changed my direction, sometimes the greatest disappointment in our lives becomes the greatest protection. At the time, we cannot understand why. Only years later does the road begin to make sense. By the age of 22, I believed I already knew what my future would be. The Navy had become my home. It had taught me discipline, responsibility, teamwork, confidence, and leadership. I believed I would spend my life serving there. But God had another plan. One day after playing soccer during the Navy team selection, I reported for my second shift guard duty. My shift lasted from 10 o'clock at night until 2 o'clock in the morning. I was physically exhausted after playing soccer all day. Sometime during that long night, fatigue overcame me. Without realizing it, I fell asleep while standing guard. When I suddenly awakened, everything happened within a few seconds. My rifle had not been properly secured. It discharged. I remember the strong smell of gunpowder. I remember hearing voices around me. I remember my commanding officer saying, "Take him to Asmara by helicopter." After that, my memory became unclear. I later learned that my left hand had been seriously injured and several bones had been damaged. My friends visited me in the hospital and explained what had happened. The military investigated the incident and concluded that it had been an accident. I was never accused of intentional misconduct. Instead, I was referred to the military medical board. Looking back today, I often think about that night. If the bullets had struck my body differently, I would not be here today. My children would never have been born. Sometimes an entire life changes in only a few seconds. The medical board eventually declared me medically unfit for continued military service. When I heard their decision, my future suddenly became dark. I did not know where I would go. I did not know what kind of life awaited me. I believed I would probably return to my aunt's home in Gimby. Beyond that, I had no plan. Before leaving the Navy, I returned to Massawa Naval Base one last time. I completed my clearance. I returned my uniforms, my equipment, and finally, my Navy identification card. My department and naval headquarters both gave me recommendation letters. Those letters meant a great deal to me. They represented years of faithful service. Throughout my Navy career, my efficiency reports were consistently excellent. I was known as a dependable and hardworking sailor. I was never taken before the naval police for disciplinary problems. I never believed in seeking favors or popularity. I simply tried to do my work honestly. Those recommendation letters reminded me that although my military career was ending, I was leaving with honor. My fellow sailors already knew I would soon leave. We spent about a month together after my medical board. When it came time to say goodbye, we embraced. We saluted. None of us knew it would be our final farewell. Even today, their faces still come back to my mind. Before leaving Massawa, I quietly walked around the naval base one last time. I looked across the Red Sea. By then, Massawa was no longer simply a military station. It had become my home. There I had grown from a 17-year-old boy into a young man. There I learned discipline, friendship, responsibility, confidence, and the realities of life. Soon afterward, another unexpected event reminded me how fragile life can be. I was scheduled to leave Asmara aboard a Soviet Antonov military aircraft. Another Navy member, 1 year younger than I was, boarded the aircraft. When my turn came, there was no more room. The aircraft was full. I had to wait. The following day, we received terrible news. The Antonov had crashed. Everyone aboard had died. My young co-worker was among them. The following day, another Antonov arrived, and that became the flight that safely carried me to Addis Ababa. Looking back today, I cannot explain why I survived. I can only say, God still had another path prepared for me. Before leaving Massawa, I bought many inexpensive items for my family. Blankets, clothing, shirts, jeans, fabrics. I felt proud that I could finally bring gifts home to my parents and relatives. After arriving in Addis Ababa, I stayed for a short time at naval headquarters. The Navy even offered me lighter duties so I could continue serving. Around that time, I contacted my cousin, my aunt's son. He had left Gimby for Addis Ababa before I was born. He was about my father's age and had already built a good life with his family. He was a well-educated professional meteorologist, and I respected his wisdom and experience. I explained everything that had happened. I told him the Navy had offered me lighter duties if I wished to continue serving. He listened carefully. Then he thought about the changing situation in the country. Finally, he said, "Tadell, why don't you stay here with us and continue your education?" His advice changed my life. I accepted it. Looking back today, I believe that conversation became one of the greatest turning points of my entire life. I began working during the day. I attended school at night. A completely new chapter of my life had begun. During that same period, I also learned an important lesson about trust. The Navy gave me compensation after my military service. A relative kindly offered to keep the money safely for me. I trusted him completely. I gave him everything. Later, my cousin asked, "Where is your money?" I explained that I had given it to my relative. He looked disappointed. I felt too ashamed to ask for it back. I realized I would probably never receive it back. That experience became another life lesson I carried with me forever. Sometime later, my best Navy friend visited me. We had joined the Navy together years earlier. Unlike me, he had been assigned to the Marine unit in Debre Berhan instead of Massawa. Because of that assignment, he survived. He brought news that deeply saddened me. Massawa Naval Base had fallen. Many of our friends had never returned. Years later, after I came to the United States, I unexpectedly met an Ethiopian co-worker. His sister's husband had been a Navy officer living inside Massawa Naval Base. He happened to be visiting them during those final days. He shared with me what he personally experienced. As he spoke, I could picture every building, every road, every place he described. Those places had once been my home. I listened quietly. I asked questions. For the first time, I understood more clearly what had happened after I left. Looking back over my Navy journey today, I see joy and sorrow, success and disappointment, life and death. It was a journey that shaped everything I would become. The Navy gave me confidence, discipline, skills, friendship, leadership, and life experiences that remain with me to this day. At 22 years old, I believed my future had ended. Today, I understand something completely different. God was not closing my future. He was changing my direction. If someone asked me today why my military career ended so early, my answer is simple. God had prepared another mission for my life, one I could not yet see. If I had remained in the Navy, perhaps I would never have become an educator. Perhaps thousands of students would never have entered the schools we later helped build. Perhaps my children would never have received the opportunities they have today. Looking back now, I no longer ask why my Navy journey ended. Instead, I thank God for changing my direction. Sometimes, the road we never planned becomes the road we were meant to walk. This episode is respectfully dedicated to my Navy friends who never returned. May they rest in peace, and may their families always remember their service.